What I have in front of me is a Nippondeno compressor. These compressors were popular on Grand Cherokees and Wranglers, as well as imports, Toyotas, Mazdas, etc. They were very common on a lot of cars. What happens with these compressors is the bearing in the pulley sometimes runs out of lubricant or dries out and the bearing growls or chatters. It's very easy to tell the difference. It'll sound like the compressor is making a noise with the AC off. If that's the case, your bearing's bad. This is the bearing. Behind this seal is lubricant. When that dries up or evaporates, it's going to start making noise. So if your AC's off and your compressor's making noise, your bearing's bad, you need to change it. If the compressor's on and it's making noise, if the noise goes away when the compressor's off, it might be the bearing, but more commonly the compressor's going bad itself. Today I just want to demonstrate how to remove the bearing out of the pulley and put the bearing back in the pulley and explain a few things that you need to know when doing this job. I'm going to use a cordless impact drill today rather than our normal air impact. To begin, you remove the nut off the hub. It requires a 10mm socket and it looks like this. Just sits right in the center of the hub. Once you get that removed, this hub should pull right off as it's doing. I'll explain those in a minute. If the hub doesn't pull right off, sometimes they'll get lodged on. Take 2 flathead screwdrivers and gently press in there and try to pull it up. It should pull out. They are not pressed on or anything, they're just held on with splines, so it should pull right out. What I'm moving now is something I want to explain later. I don't want to get ahead of myself, I just don't want to lose them. Next, you'll need snap ring pliers to take the snap ring off that holds on the bearing and the pulley. This thing can be a pain, so when you see me fighting with it, don't laugh. Take a sip of soda or something. Just do something to occupy yourself while I fight with this thing. Almost got it. Alright, I got it. That's the snap ring that holds it on. On these Nippondenos, they're not pressed on either. They pull right off. If it doesn't pull off, your coil might have got hot and came apart, and if that happens, you'll see copper in those little holes right there. You're not going to get it apart. Buy a new compressor. It's a headache. Alright, that's as far as you go for removing the bearing. The bearing's pressed in. There's some notches here. I don't know if you can see them, but there's notches where the tabs were bent over the bearing to hold it in. So that bearing's pressed in. So what you got to do is you got to have a cylinder like this. This is a 2.5-inch diameter cylinder on the inside. And what you want to do is you want to make sure the cylinder fits on that as such. If the cylinder doesn't sit close to this area where the bearing is, if it sits out here more, when you go to take this bearing out, you're going to bend this pulley so it's concaved. If that happens, your pulley's shot. I don't sell pulleys. I don't know many people who do. If you can't find a pulley, you got to buy a compressor. So try to make sure you get a cylinder that sits right against there. Once you get that out, I made this special tool out of solid steel. And what this does, this allows me to press right on the center of the bearing to get it out. You should be able to find something like this laying around, just a solid cylinder to press it out. There's 2 ways to do it. These bearings don't come out easy. They're pressed in and the tabs are bent over. So we got to do 2 things. We got to get it out of a pressed cylinder, the pressed pulley, and we have to unbend those tabs while doing it. So it's going to be a bear. 2 ways. Your buddy the hammer. It's going to be loud. Get ready. You can bang on it like that, or you can use an arbor press like I have here. When using an arbor press, my arbor press isn't bolted down, so I'm going to fight with this thing a lot. Normally they should be bolted down so you don't fight, but I put it up here for video purposes. Take it down, put it up, take it, you got the idea. Alright, so what we're going to do, take our arbor press and try to press it out. And as you can see, the back's lifting. If this happens with you, tap the top of the arbor press. At that point my bearing started moving, so I should be able to push it out if it was bolted down. If it doesn't push, you can use your arbor press to push it out. Once the bearing's out, you want to put a new bearing in. Now this bearing's brand new, but just to demonstrate for the video, I'm going to change bearings here. You should be able to see the tabs that I had to bend out now. They're right in there. Hopefully you can. If you can't, sorry. You want to make sure when you put this bearing in that it's completely flat. If it's sitting on an angle, it's going to dig into the side of this pulley When it does that, it's going to be in there crooked. It's going to ride on the front of this nose crooked. It's going to eat into the aluminum on the nose, and you're going to have to replace your whole compressor. Another thing, if it's not straight, it's going to be very difficult to get it in. It's going to be difficult anyway, but it won't be as bad. I do recommend using an arbor press when you're doing this step. It's just a little bit easier, but before you get started, make sure your bearing's flat, level. All right. My bearing's not level, so I'm going to push down on one side to get it to go in. Now that it's started, I'm going to finish the process. My bearing's not all the way in yet, and you can tell by looking right here, there's a little gap. So you want to make sure it goes all the way down. But again, my arbor press isn't bolted down, so this makes my life a little bit difficult. Perfect. It's in. All right, now that it's in, pulley falls on. See it? Come on. The pulley falls. Nothing ever works right in these videos. First time it fell on, the second time it made me look like an idiot. There you go. All right, I give up trying to show you. Goes right on. Make sure it's pushed all the way down. Get your snap ring and your snap ring pliers. Oh yeah, like I said in the beginning, these snap rings can be a bear. So take a sip of soda while I fight with this. Got it. Snap ring's on, but there's a big gap right there. Hopefully you can see it. Take your flathead screwdriver and just put it in one of the holes and just tap on both sides. This way you make sure that snap ring's seated underneath and the pulley's not going to fall off. You can also use a hammer if you don't trust your hands. All right, after that, here's the most crucial part of doing this job. I was playing with something earlier, and what I was playing with were shims. Hopefully you can see them. They're just little tiny washers. They're real thin. They make them in different thicknesses. We do have them if you need them. But these shims are going to set the clutch gap on this compressor. Now, I want to show you, on this compressor, your clutch gap is going to be between 15 thousandths and 30 thousandths of an inch. Get your feeler gauges out. I got 25,000 here, whatever. I can't really get this in there because of the angle. All right. So what I want you to do in that case is put all your washers, all your shims back on except for one. Leave one out. Tighten it down with your impact and spin your pulley. I don't know if you can hear it. I'm going to get close with the microphone. Hopefully you can hear it. You hear it rubbing? When that bolt's tight, this thing's going to lock up and not rub at all. You want to shim it so it doesn't rub, but it can't be too far away or it's not going to work at all. So if you don't need to use all the shims, take the thinnest one out, leave it out, tighten it down, and see if you hear that noise. If you don't hear it, you're good to go. If you do hear it, put the other shim in, put it back together. It's not really the correct way to do it, but it's a great way to do it in your house or in your garage, wherever you work. All right, the bolt, stick it in your hub. Drop your shims on, and then hold your bolt at an angle. Can you see how I have it at an angle? This way your shims don't fall off. And you can do this on the car. Hold it at an angle, push it on the car. It doesn't matter. Bent your car. I've changed many, many bearings on a car. Hold it on an angle, drop it on, straighten your bolt out, and it should go down. To torque this down, 10 to 15 foot-pounds. You don't need much. Get one of your handy dandy torque wrenches. I'm not doing it this time. I'm just going to zip it on here for video time constraints, but that's it. Spin it. If you want to check it, plug one of these wires up to a ground on the battery, the other one up to a positive on the battery. Listen for it to click. Try spinning it. If you can't spin it, it's good. If you can spin it, your clutch gap is too bad. If you have questions, you know how to get a hold of me. sales@jeepair.com or go to jeepair.com, click on the contact us. I'll be the guy to respond to your emails. If you have a problem, call me. I'm John. I'll be happy to help you over the phone. Thanks for watching our videos, guys. Have a great day.